Time travel is totally fucked in movies and television. And it's always like, oh, which rules are you following? Is it going to be the Back to the Future rules or the Terminator rules or the Time Cop rules? They're all shit. All of them. Okay? Because here's the thing is the Earth is spinning. And as it's spinning, it's moving around the sun. And the sun is moving around the galaxy. And the galaxy is moving around the universe. So what happens is if you were to actually invent time travel might have been invented like 100 different times already, because you will move from the exact same space in the universe now to the same space at a different time, and you're just floating around in space. How many time travelers have frozen to death? We may never know, but this never gets accounted for in any of our pop culture. Like, just think about it for like 2 fucking seconds. How fucking hard is it? You have to simultaneously invent space interplanetary space travel at the very least, and time travel. That's the only way this works. Figure your shit out, Hollywood.
You got a favorite time travel movie?
Future Man.
Future Man?
TV show.
All right.
But I love time travel movies. Primer is also really good.
I liked when Deadpool at the end of his just shot, the other Deadpool in the head and was like, "There, it's fixed. You want to come join me?" I'm like, that does time travel pretty much right there.
That 12 Monkeys.
12 Monkeys was good. Yep, 12 Monkeys.
Did you ever watch the series?
Yes, and I thought, I don't know. I like Bruce Willis. Old Bruce Willis.
Bruce Willis. I like Brad Pitt. And I wasn't expecting the show to be that good, but I just watched it anyway because I love 12 Monkeys, the movie, and I loved the show. Probably even more.
There you go. Mashup 91. The Sergei.
What's yours?
I'm gonna get teased about this. About time. About time. It's like a love story time travel movie that's fantastic. Fantastic.
Okay. I don't know it. But yeah, even like Looper was great. Terminator 2, also great.
The Terminators, they overdid it. That's what they did.
Terminator 2.
I know. There's like Terminator 14 right now, and nobody cares. Nobody cares anymore. I thought when Christian Bale came into the Terminator franchise, I'm like, oh, here we go. And then you watch it, and like,
and McG directed it. I had high hopes. Although I will say the Sarah Connor Chronicles was really good and tragically canceled far too soon.
There you go.
Endgame was like the perfect me movie because it was combination superhero movie, heist, and time travel.
Endgame was good. Okay. Shall we get on to 91?
Sure.
Sergei Fedorov.
Let's just address this Doctor Who thing. Sadly, I'm not British. I've never watched Doctor Who at all. I know what a TARDIS is, but so Genetics says, Doctor Who, come on, man. He was a Time Lord, be nerdier. I guess my nerdiness is not infinite.
Is limited. Okay. Last week we threw out the Coots 4, and I was supposed to have the number for you, and I didn't have it for you, so I apologize. Yep. And since then, I've got a nice little tracker now that's counting up, that's sent to me by Ben Trudeau. So there's actually a website people can follow, but it's 714 days today.
So when this gets released Tuesday morning,
it'll be 715. Correct. So there you go. That's where it sit. They had
they're 2 weeks shy of 2 years.
Yes.
And one of them just got sentenced to 10 months today, by the way.
No. That's James Sowery. That isn't one of the 4. Sowery's the guy who ran over the pylon. And then the cops feared for their lives. He was downing Coots, but he's not one of the 4.
For running over a pylon.
Correct.
What? Because it looks like the NDP?
And I joked today, Twos, if we had as much political clout as that pylon, I think we'd be laughing. Like, literally.
Oh, okay.
Yes, welcome to the state of Canada, where
I hope we don't have any other stories about the sorry state of our
running over a pylon system. You cannot make this up. You cannot make
Was
this
it
up.
a special pylon?
Yeah,
Did it?
it identified as as a, I don't know, what's the opposite of a pylon, Twos? Help me out here.
Well, I would say like it just.
Yeah.
What round did the Oilers draft it in?
We'll get to the Oilers and how they're doing.
Do we
Yeah,
need to?
James Sowery. I don't even know if that's on our list of 30 today.
It isn't
But
because it just came out this afternoon. I
all right.
saw
Well,
it
he
for
got
2 minutes
sentenced to
before.
10 months to follow a ton of it. Mocha Bazurgan is
Yeah.
on Twitter. I just had him on the podcast last week. Young kid from Turkey. He's been down there covering a whole bunch of it, along with a whole. I think Jason Levine's down there too. Don't quote me. I think I'm almost positive I quoted him on Twitter. And so there's a few different people down there. But yeah, James Sowery sentenced to 10 months today for running over a traffic cone.
I got to give you shit about that interview you did with Mocha, by the way.
Oh, why is that?
Well, so you had this really interesting story that he basically just teased out a few Cole's notes about with this Turkish president that used to be everything that everybody wanted and then gradually turned into a villain.
Mm.
And I feel like you probably could have gone far deeper into that. I really wanted to hear more about it. It was all
Oh,
news to me.
there's a way to have round two, isn't there?
Yes.
All right, fair enough. Well, there you go. We've just added in 31 because James Sowery. Yeah. If you hadn't heard about that and you're sitting on Twitter, just go to Bazurgan Media, or Jason Levine has some tweets about it, and you'll just be like, ugh. If you're wanting to hear from him, a story, go to the podcast. I interviewed him a while back when he was first charged and facing jail time. Now he's gonna 10 months. 10 months.
10 months. That's more than people get for killing people in this
country right now.
Was the pylon dead? Like, were they able to salvage it?
I don't know. They may have offered it made, maybe they wanted to donate its organs. Anyways, the other thing that happened between the two of us that we got a note here for is Tucker recap. Tucker Carlson was in town Wednesday. You went to Calgary. I went to Edmonton.
Yeah.
How was Calgary?
Okay, so I basically snuck out of work early to go to this thing. And then while I'm there, talking with Underboob Jess and Tarek Alnaga, kind of the VIP area sort of thing. Who comes up to me? My boss. Oh, hey, Twos, how's it going? I'm like, motherfucker. And so anyway, we got to talking about it afterwards, and he thought it was really interesting because I had mentioned the same kind of thing, I guess, that a lot of people have been saying about how Danielle Smith really kind of just spent 5 minutes talking like a politician rather than actually giving a decent answer when it came to the Coots 4. And so then he just randomly sends me a text of this podcast interview that a guy named Leighton Gray did. He just sends me a clip of you and him talking. And I'm like, okay, well, that's funny because he doesn't really like he knows, but I don't think he's actually checked
Figured
out
it
any
out.
of this stuff. Yeah. And so anyway, I'm like, yeah, I know that guy.
Well, we had the premiere in the studio on the weekend,
Yep.
and that released today, and that got some people fired up. Because she, had Leighton on, and he was talking about Coots 4. So I asked Danielle about the Coots 4, and people enjoyed that answer, didn't enjoy that answer, didn't enjoy that answer.
I imagine mostly didn't. Because it seemed to fly directly in the face of everything that Leighton said. And then you didn't really push back very much.
Yeah, people didn't like that, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know what to
I guess.
I don't know what to say at this point, I'll give the audience this, though. The phone today, I tell you what, it hovered. And lots of people very upset that I didn't push back and I didn't do a whole lot of things and I didn't drag her out by her hair or something. I don't know. But that was so who was right, Leighton or Danielle? That's what Earl Wally's saying. I don't know.
All right. I do like the fact that you took up my idea about the coin, kind of.
Kind of. I will say this: when you have 20 minutes and you have like 5 topics you're trying to get to, I really don't like that. There's no, it's like all I did was stare at a clock with a timer beside me showing me how much time I had. That has got to be the worst feeling in the world as a host. And people are like, "Well, you got 20 minutes with the premiere." True, very true, very true. But
So,
can't make everybody happy, including twos by the sounds of it. So what are you gonna do?
hey man, if I didn't care, I wouldn't give you the feedback.
It's true. It's true.
All right.
Well, are we gonna get into 91 here, or are we gonna just
Okay.
sit here and gap? Because I
still have some sponsorship spots available if
we
anybody's
do,
interested.
we do.
And then let's get into this rapid fire thing. Darren Ostapowicz says he likes the speed version. You guys did a fine job of stretching the odd story. Well done. I assume he means us going rapid fire and not something to do with Keanu Reeves.
I assume that's what he meant. Okay, here we go on Mashup 91. Liberal voters are revolting.
See, it's a play on words, Sean, because they're revolting.
Avalon MP Ken MacDonald has walked back comments made to Radio Canada about whether Prime Minister Justin Trudeau should undergo a leadership review. Quoted, "I will continue to support my caucus colleagues and the Prime Minister as I've done since 2015, MacDonald said in a written statement. Notice how it's written to NTV News. This comes just days after MacDonald told Radio Canada there should be a leadership review in the Liberal Party on camera, I might add.
Yeah, isn't it funny? That's a pretty marked departure from what he said the other day. And so, yeah, he's speaking candidly, and he says that he's got a lot of concerns about Trudeau, and then he would like to see a leadership review. And then, no, I love him. He's the best. Go, Justin. Oh, for sure, he's the best kind. Because he's Moon Man. And so, yeah, it just they keep it.
Well, it's a flip flop, man.
There's
There's a flip flop. He literally
Yeah.
one day says we need a leadership review. The next day, I'm standing strong. This week in charges dropped. I mean, how you doing?
I think we got this. This needs to be a regular segment at this point.
Sure. Chris Sky. Today, this is his tweet. Today is truly a historic day. On October 7th, 2020, I became the first person charged criminally under the Quarantine Act. They wanted 1 year in jail. After 4 years of fighting, they tried to make me plea. I told them to suck my cock. That's literally what it says, folks. I'll see you in court. Well, today, January 25th, all charges against me for blatantly defying the Quarantine Act were dropped, proving beyond any doubt they can never do this shit again if you just say no.
Now, it's good. I hadn't heard anything about this. I assume it's true. He's just, I guess, glad that they don't make having giant shitty fucking teeth illegal.
You and Chris Guy's teeth. Is that a running joke now for like?
Well, no, he's just such a ludicrous human being.
You
And
stare at the teeth, and I stare at the neck tattoo. I'm like,
I just
the
think
neck
he's just really douchey. I'm sure he's a great guy, but ugh, not my kind of people. Oh, by the way, Ken McCammon reached out to me and thanked me for the tickets, which I had nothing to do with.
And he'd reached out today as well. He said, Coos 4 being tried in Court of King's Bench, isn't that a federal, not a provincial? Anyone listening want to weigh in? I would love to see the comments go back and forth on that. Okay. Polygamists are plagiarists. Utah State Senator Scott Sandel is the chief sponsor of the Utah Constitutional Sovereignty Act, which was passed by the state Senate on January 18th and is expected to pass through the state of House Representatives and be signed off by Governor Spencer Cox in a few weeks. Sandel said Utah and Alberta share some of the common concerns about federal overreach, and in that way, I think we partner even across the border. Quoted, "We plan to use this legislation only in extreme cases where we believe a federal law will have devastating consequences to Utah." He did cite a bunch of the climate.
He said, well, yeah, and he specifically said that it was modeled after the Albertan Sovereignty Act.
Yes.
So that's pretty interesting.
Well, making waves down south, right?
Yep.
They're taking notes of what Danielle Smith is doing up north.
I'd say that bodes well for her.
Quebec protectionism endangering American free trade. The Quebec provincial government, and I guess as I show this, I'm gonna share my screen here. Give me a moment, folks. I'll get her pulled up. Here's what we're talking about. The Quebec provincial government grossly underestimated how much it will cost for businesses to adhere to new French language law requirements for storefront signage, according to a Montreal legal expert. The new draft regulation requires non-French signs to be accompanied by French descriptions that are twice the size. For example, if Canadian Tire has lettering that is 3 meters tall and 20 meters long, it would need a French description that is 4 meters by 30 meters. There you go. So you can see it on the storefront of the Canadian Tire if this was what it was supposed to look like.
Yeah. Isn't it funny how silly these fucking frogs get about everything? I've said this before, if you need to mandate protection for your language and your culture, maybe they're not that great to begin with.
I don't know, man. I kind of admire the Quebecois at this point because they just don't give two craps about what the rest of the country says, and they go about their business and just keep hammering the government. Aren't we trying to do the same bloody thing here in Alberta? I mean, we don't have French to worry about.
Or at least the whole generation
We're
behind.
trying to try and be like, hey, we got this Alberta Sovereignty Act, and we kind of want our way of life to stay, and we kind of want to do oil and gas and a whole bunch of other things. So instead of making fun of these freaking guys and gals, maybe we just need to adopt a Quebec stance on pretty much everything.
We could do both.
We could still make fun of them. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's true. To me, at this point, dairy cartel protectionism squashes British free trade negotiations. British negotiators walked away from the trade talks with Canada Thursday, a dramatic development that taps the brakes on a bilateral trade deal between two Commonwealth nations that has been years in the making. A major sticking point between the two sides remains how much tariff-free access UK producers should have to the Canadian cheese market. After Brexit, and actually, I'm going to go down. Corey Morgan had this to say: Canada's dairy cartels. I'll take twos off the hook for a second for the dairy cartel that's listening. Canada's dairy cartels are very effective political lobbyists. Neither the Liberal nor the Conservative parties are willing to question the sanctity of Canada's supply management system, no matter how much it costs citizens. The dairy industry contributes far too much to the campaigns of both parties for them to risk losing those dollars.
Remember when Andrew Scheer was running against Maxime Bernier, and it seemed as though the deciding vote was basically cast by the dairy cartel. And so this has been a long-standing thing. And actually, this agreement or this clause, I guess, that applies to all international trade agreements that cites that they can't move forward without protection for the dairy cartel. It was specifically, everybody voted yes to it. So if you think Poilievre's going to do any different, nope, because they voted yes for this. And also he said that he wasn't going to touch the dairy cartel because it would cost $40 billion to buy them out, despite the fact that there were estimates that it costs us consumers $8 billion in excess cost. And so while everybody's worried about the cost of groceries, you're like, this is one of the four major food groups, and Canadians are paying an extra $8 billion a year, which means also, by the way, that $40 billion payout would be break even at 5 years, which would make it a good investment. There's every financial reason to do this, but they're unwilling to do it because they don't want to get Maxime Bernier.
Ben Shapiro left me actually speechless for once. There's a new music video. Of course, I didn't pull up the bloody tweet, but it's Tom McDonald featuring Ben Shapiro, and it's called Facts.
And anyway, halfway through the damn thing, all of a sudden, you've got Ben Shapiro, who is not by much definition a very cool dude. Yeah,
that's Ben Shapiro rapping.
Ben Shapiro dropping absolute fire in the middle of a rap song. You're like, I did not expect this at all. He's a smart guy, seems like a good dude, but he's probably one of the least cool people I could picture in my head.
After watching that video, I added to my growing list of people I want to have on the podcast, and I kind of
Tom
forgot
McDonald.
about him. Tom McDonald. I'm like, frig, I want to have Tom McDonald on the
I
podcast.
mean,
Okay.
he's originally from Edmonton, I think.
Oh, I thought it was out east. Doesn't matter.
Well, whatever.
JP makes large leaps forward in media training. Gad Saad said, "You're most likely to receive threats if you criticize."
And then he had
And
a
Jordan
poll.
Peterson quoted as "fat chicks on the cover of magazines."
Yeah. So anyway,
Do we-
he's
do we-
he's pushing back on this forced media training he's got to undergo. You love to see it.
Yeah, I don't know if we need to really comment. I think JP did just a one-liner
There's
there.
nothing we could do to improve on that.
Edmonton.
And that's basically what happens when he speaks, by the way. Everything, I don't know if you listened to the Calgary one, but everything he said about Greta Thunberg, I've tried to say and did it far less well.
Edmonton doesn't even have good terrorists. This was an all-out Gaza-inspired jihadist terror attack with gunfire and homemade bombs at Edmonton City Hall on Tuesday. A 28-year-old security guard is facing 6 charges related to arson, explosive, discharging of a firearm after shooting and firing at the Edmonton City Hall on Tuesday morning. His name was Bazani Savar. Police said the suspect had surrendered to the unarmed guard and was detained until police arrived minutes later. I want to point out, nobody was hurt. He fired off rounds into the wall, into the door, and into the ceiling.
And threw a Molotov cocktail in there, and not a single person was injured. This guy fucking sucks.
Yeah, I mean, all jokes aside, because I'm like, this is serious, like really serious. Like we just had a terrorist attack in City Hall.
To mock the shit out of him.
Yes.
That's the way out. Like, this is another thing that I've been saying for a long time is when you've got terrorists, mass shooters, you don't call them lone wolves. You don't call them dangerous individuals. You make fun of their small dicks. You tease them. Like you make it so that the idea of being one of these people is so cringeworthy that no one even wants to try it. That's how you get this shit to stop. And this guy fucking sucks.
Doesn't it strike you as odd, though? I mean, just really odd that he walks in, and I wish I had left up the video. There's a security camera of him shooting his gun, and it is as sporadic focus as it gets. Then he takes off his coat, drops his gun, drops everything, and goes and get arrested by an unarmed guard. So what was the point of it?
That's interesting. I didn't watch the video. I didn't realize that the video was out. That's very weird. See, this is probably why we need more people to get their pals, and there are pals, so that when you're in a situation like this, you can actually fire the weapon without looking like an absolute fucking schmuck.
Yeah, obviously trained by the libs and NDP terrorist camps. Yeah. I don't mean to make light of this. I agree with Twos that you don't put them in a realm of like, it's just, yeah. And Stevie B, you're right. There is it's before he goes on, right?
Yeah.
Or before he goes
He
in,
does
he
a
has this
confession
video
where he says it's about Gaza and immigration and anti-woke.
and then he
So
walks
it's an
in and
interesting
shoots
mixed
the wall
bag
and
of left
shoots.
stuff and right stuff.
Yeah.
And so the left is like, oh, he's anti-woke, that's why he's a terrorist. And the right is like, oh, he's all pro-Gaza, and that's why he's a terrorist. And you're both right.
The future is now, and God help us.
I'm starting to run out of jokes I can make about stupid cities buying electric vehicles. I was talking to a guy at the city of Calgary, and they had got one of those new Ford Lightnings, and they had it out during that crazy cold snap. And the battery's dead and it won't take charge. They had to like tow it back to the yard. That brand new vehicle that basically still has the tits on the new tires, it's a write-off. And now here's
Brampton's first electric fire truck.
Yeah.
And 5.4 million for 2 and a built-in diesel generator. The battery will only last 2 hours. So it's, like I had Chris Chase Barber on, sorry, not Chris, talking about, his electrified logging trucks. And so you go, the difference, folks, is when you talk to Chase, his trucks are like refurbishing old trucks and placing, making common sense moves. 5.4 million to the taxpayer for two of these suckers.
Okay, and think about it. Like they're saying, "Oh, this is going to help save the environment and everything like that." Are they really taking into account the added carbon sink or the added carbon footprint of all the extra
Oh,
houses and
guaranteed not.
buildings that are going to burn down when this thing can't fucking get there?
Okay. The other part of this is a media release Wednesday. Let's bring it a little closer home here, Saskatchewan. In a media release Wednesday, transit bus manufacturer Nova Bus announced it has signed a 5-year contract with the city of Regina to provide up to 53 long-range battery electric buses to Regina Transit. They said the first 7 of the 40-foot buses are to be delivered in 2025, and the addition of these electric buses will support the city of Regina's goal of becoming a 100% renewable city by 2050 and is aligned with their energy and sustainability framework.
Do you know what a long range electric bus is, Sean? It's around the fucking block. I think we've established this fairly thoroughly. And yet, I mean, obviously, Patrick Brown doesn't watch the fucking mashup, or he wouldn't buy fucking fire trucks that run on electric.
Liberals defund the UN? Question mark. Jewish groups and others are calling on Canada to follow the U.S. and suspend funding to a controversial UN agency in Gaza after allegations this week that its employees participated in the October 7th terrorist attack against Israel. The U.S. government announced Friday it was immediately pausing funding for the United Nations Relief and Works Agency for Palestine refugees after evidence presented by the Israeli government this week alleged 12 of the agency's employees took part in the Hamas-led attacks. Canada had suspended funding to this group under previous Harper government due to longstanding allegations that the agency promoted anti-Semitism and was linked to terror groups such as Hamas. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau reinstated Canada's $25 million in funding in 2016. They just signed on to $100 million over the next 4 years.
$25 million a year we're sending to terrorists. But hey, they're canceling it now because you're actually getting daylight on this shit. And then it's funny because the other part of it is that a month ago, everybody was calling Leslie Lewis crazy for saying that we should stop sending money to the UN.
Well, I think that's a good thing to point out because that petition is still going, right? It's up to, I think it's 85,000 people. Last time I checked was just a couple days ago. The Prime Minister's office, because this is the other headline we have. Prime Minister's office is questioning a high-profile conservative, which would be Leslie Lewis, who for support of a petition that seeks Canada withdrawal from the United Nations and its subsidiary agencies. And I think that's been being talked about quietly, maybe more loud than I think. But that petition, if you haven't seen it, you should sign on to it because I think that there's a lot to be said about that one.
I mean, it's cute that you still think petitions matter, but continue.
I used to think protests didn't matter, and then the convoy happened. Look at what it did.
That's fair, but one doesn't make the other true. This might be a good idea.
I don't know.
Derek Holmedal, get Leslie on the show.
I've been trying, I have been trying. You think I can get that one? It's a quick buzzer because right now I haven't been able to. I feel like shocker. I haven't been able to. Shocker. Stomping protesters and seizing bank accounts is illegal.
This is a big one.
Yes. I mean, this literally came out,
Mm-hmm. So, I mean, it's stuff that, the problem was it came out on Tuesday last week. So it's a week old, and everybody's been talking about it for a week. But this is our first chance to talk about it.
Not justified.
And the use of the Emergencies Act, not justified.
Correct. I mean, not justified.
We all knew that. We all knew that.
No, but I think
if you threw any common sense at it, it wouldn't have been justified. And now you've got a liberal judge saying, actually, yeah, you know what it is. Interesting thing, though, about this is that Chrystia Freeland in that media scrum was like a half hour after the verdict came out. And the judge wrote something like a 90-page dossier of his thoughts and everything like that, his reasoning behind saying it was unjustified. And you cannot tell me that they had legal analysis of that 90-page document in 30 minutes in enough time for her to be able to say that they're going to dispute it.
Yeah, guaranteed. Man,
they don't give a shit about the law.
I don't know
They
about
do
anybody
not.
else watching this. We got a bunch of people watching right now, and like, Twos, were you surprised when you read that headline?
Yes.
Like, not the fact that it was like they deemed it like this was not justified.
The fact
That
that the
that I
legal
already
system
knew, but
actually worked for fucking
correct,
once in this ridiculous
correct.
goddamn shithole country. Yeah, I was pretty fucking surprised.
Yeah, that one surprised me. Like, I was like, holy.
Like it's to the point where honestly, when I hear about these court cases and things like that, I just think, why the fuck do people even bother? Right? It's almost like willfully engaging in a deal where you know the other person's operating under bad faith. And for some fucking reason, it actually worked this time.
The other thing we should point out is this is Mocha right here, Bezergin, and this was the convoy on the weekend in support of the Coots boys, and he'd had some reporting, and it's good to continue to shine a light on that. Mocha's got he's fresh in my mind right now. He really impressed
Yes,
really
he did.
he really impressed me. Gonna be honest, folks. If you haven't listened to that interview, go back, take a listen.
That media blackout, again, you just be like, are you surprised that there's a media blackout? Yes. As a concept, I am. In the current state of our country, I am not
I am
the
not.
least bit
That
surprised
yeah,
that there's a media
100%.
blackout.
Like, can you imagine if CBC showed up to cover that? That would have been amazing. Like, that would have been something.
Tucker in Calgary offered to the CBC. He's like, you guys are in the room. If you want, come to the front afterwards. I'll give you an exclusive interview. And they didn't take him up on it.
Yeah.
It was the biggest news. It was the biggest news in the country all week. And they're like, no, we're good.
Liberal political career ties suddenly. That seems to be going around right now. Former Justice Minister David Lametti resigns as Montreal MP to join law firm. It is with some sadness, he says, that I'm leaving a dream job, he says.
Yeah, no shit. Look at the fucking pension he's going to get.
Yeah, and here's Franco Terrazzano. Lametti will receive an estimated starting pension of $87,000 a year. $87,000 a year.
For doing nothing.
And he will receive an estimated $3 million to the age of 90.
You know what? If we're gonna start giving people MAID all over this fucking place, let's start with the people who get guaranteed pensions. Yeah. When they get out of office, just push them out on an iceberg, like the Eskimos used to do. And then so he resigns the day after the court ruling. He deletes his Twitter account and is immediately already working at a law firm. Isn't it
nothing
awesome
shady?
How things just kind of fall together.
Fall into place. That's right. Fall into place. Mike Holmes' reputation gets demolished along with the houses he approved. Okay, the demolitions are the.
I gotta give CBC some credit on this. This is CBC, and they're the only ones I know of that did this.
The demolition, I just took a small snippet out of here, folks. The demolitions are the latest chapter in the saga of Terrace Wood, a housing development launched in Mayford in 2015 to much fanfare. The boutique subdivision of houses was built by Third Line Homes and endorsed by celebrity contractor and popular TV host Mike Holmes. Essentially, what happened is there was a series of homes that got built with such giant defaults that they
had to tear them down, including one that was 2 years old. And so, yeah, that's
structural defaults they had to absolutely just hammer down. See you later.
And Mike Holmes, actually, there's pictures of him in that house, or sorry, depending on which house got tore down, but he was in one of the houses that got tore down.
Right there, giving the thumbs
endorsing it. Here's him giving his thumbs up to the construction of this house, which ended up getting torn down 2 years later. Okay? And the deal was that they sold him one of the houses for an undisclosed price, which then he later turned around and sold. So presumably he lived in there on paper for 6 months and then sold it and paid no capital gains on it. Dude, that's crazy. Like this guy, you'd think he's got this stellar reputation for so long, and then he ties his name to this absolute fly-by-night bullshit operation.
I
It can't be reached for comment.
100% agree. 100% agree. Wild freaking story. Okay, if you can't win, change the rules. Uh, as pro As progress on some measures, the Liberal NDP confidence and supply agreement continue to play out publicly, the two parties have quietly been in talks to table electoral reform legislation before the next federal vote. It's funny. I got a text today too about a
Mhm.
guy saying you should stop saying that Trudeau is guaranteed to be out in 2025 because we're a long way away from there, and you don't know what can happen in that time. And I was like, you're absolutely right. And wouldn't that be prophetic to this next article we're reading here? Because specifically, the Liberals and New Democrats agreed to explore allowing an expanded 3-day voting period during general elections,
Mhm.
allowing voters to cast their ballots at any polling place within their riding, and improving the mail in ballot process with both accessibility and maintaining integrity in mind, whatever the heck that means between the NDP and the Liberals.
Whenever they say that, you should get really fucking suspicious and check that you haven't lost your wallet. Okay? This
Correct.
is th- this is probably this is basically confirmation of everything that everybody suspects happened in the US in 2020. Right?
Yeah,
We're going to loosen up all these restrictions, and then all of a sudden a bunch of duffel bags are going to show up in the middle of the night. And remember that line that went bloop? Remember? Bloop? Yeah, we're going to see the bloop here. Remember when things seemed a little bit fucky when Trump lost? When they seemed a little bit fucky when Bolsonaro lost? Or
there's
when they
nothing to
seemed a
see there,
little bit
too.
fucky when Macron won?
There's
I
nothing to
tell
see
you
there.
what, things are starting to feel a little bit fucky in Canada right now. Okay? Just because
You can trust the Liberals.
just because you've taken part in MAID doesn't mean you should no longer be able to vote.
Maybe sometimes it is okay to punch a woman.
Why would you say that, Sean?
This is climate radicals attack the Mona Lisa painting in the Louvre museum in Paris.
These fucking idiots threw a can of soup on the glass in front of the Mona Lisa.
Correct. I'm surprised he didn't get tackled. I don't know if I've ever told you this, but back when I was in high school, I got to go see the Louvre. And like
Did
the
you lube it?
security, the security around that was like insane. Like they wouldn't let you take a picture. Like they wouldn't let you take your camera in there to take a picture. They were like shooing people out. So how the heck did somebody get a can of soup in and whip it at that or whatever the heck it is?
I feel like this had to have been a domestic thing because after 9/11, you can't have things like toenail clippers on flights, all that stuff. I assume that you can't fly with a can opener either. So the only way this could have happened is if it happened domestically.
I guess.
But yeah, like you see this. Somebody is going to lay the fuck out of one of these climate protesters one of these days. And it's going to be a hilarious video. And we're all going to openly mock it. But in the meantime, if there's a cause you believe in strongly, I would suggest not being a dick about it because one day someone's going to knock your lights out.
Homeless encampments have a name. That name? Trudeauville.
Trudeauville. This guy, I don't know who he is on Twitter.
But here's Kelowna.
Yeah,
you
said, I'm
see.
driving past Trudeauville. And I think that is just the perfect name for it. And that's what we all need to start calling these homeless encampments. Trudeauville.
And look at the size of this thing, man.
That's what she said. We got a bunch of new listeners and stuff.
Yeah,
hey?
It's great. Fantastic. Chinese.
Oh, this is great live discussion. 18 thumbs up. Are you guys on every evening? Could you imagine?
Could you okay. Imagine? And then, we're on every Monday night, folks. 9:00 for the wow. Hey,
and
first time listeners.
This is great. Welcome everybody who's new here.
Welcome everybody. Yes, we do the Tuesday mashup every Monday night at 9 p.m., where we rattle off as many headlines as we can get right now. And you're a part of the process. So thanks for stopping by and tuning in. Please
You're
share.
you're a part of the process. You're a part of the problem. Welcome.
Yeah, you're part of the small fringe minority. Chinese report condemns Canada's oil sands. Yeah, I mean, okay. It says carbon emissions from Canada's oil sands are being severely
Mhm.
underreported, and a new study published in the journal Science suggests. But here, let's pull up this, shall we? It says, why would an environmental study of Alberta's oil sands be funded by the Ministry of Science and Technology of China?
And if you scroll down, SML acknowledges the support of the Ministry of Science and Technology in China.
Of
Grant
China.
2019 YFCO 214700.
The project was partially funded by
China funded a study on Canada's oil sands.
correct.
And
Nothing to see here, folks. Nothing to see.
it doesn't get mentioned in the article. You got to go through the fine print of the actual. This is exactly why nobody trusts our media. Okay. And this is why they come here, like Stacy Beulah, first time too, fun and great. Leanne Taylor, so funny. Debbie Lewis, awesome broadcast. Thank you. You're very welcome. Thanks for coming, guys.
Yeah, thanks for coming. Yes. I can't. Yeah, that right there sums up what's going on in our country, doesn't it?
Yeah. I mean, it's nice that they're actually sending money here this time that isn't to get funneled through casinos.
Just to shut down our oil sands too.
Yeah, but I mean, at least they're finally sending money here instead of us sending them money. We literally give China foreign aid to the tune of millions of dollars every year. It's one of the biggest economies in the world, and we help it out like it's fucking broke.
That's a wrap on Wizard of Oz heist. This is I know you're a heist guy, so
I
folks,
know, and we have
for all the new listeners too.
We
We usually have happy news at the end, and usually there's a heist in there, right?
Well, not usually. Whenever there's a cool heist,
correct,
we hear about. We talk about it on the Mashup.
Okay. A dying thief who confessed to stealing a pair of ruby slippers that Judy Garland wore in The Wizard of Oz because he wanted to pull off one last score was given no prison time.
Like a movie.
Was given no prison time at a sentencing hearing Monday. This is in Minnesota. Terry John Martin, 76, stole the slippers adorned with the sequins and glass beads in 2005 from the Judy Garland Museum in the late actor's hometown of Grand Rapids, Minnesota. He gave into temptation after an old associate with connections into the mob told him the shoes had been adorned with real jewels to justify their U.S. $1 million insured value. So he smashed a glass out, stole the slippers, realized they weren't actual real rubies, and then just gave them away. At court, he's got a breathing machine on, and they both agreed, like, this guy's on his last, he's going into hospice. Do we really need jail time? And they said, no, pretty much it's okay. We know the story now. At least we know where they went.
And they got them back.
And they
were insured for $2.5 million. So, I mean, you think about it, though. They are the perfect heist apparel. Because, you know, it's always like, I can break into the vault, but how do we get back out again? You knock the glass out, you grab the slippers off the pedestal, you put them on, click 3 times, and you're on your couch watching TV. You don't even need a getaway driver, which means there's one less person to split the take with.
Okay.
And you can give them
from comical, I'll give you a great, like, putting that one in the middle of all these stories, just fantastic. That was a great little read about the Wizard of Oz and one last heist. MAID is a medical auto wrecker. Okay, a growing number of patients who requested medical assistance in dying are asking to donate their organs for transplants. As an international review that found that Canada is performing the most organ transplants from MAID patients among the 4 countries studied that offer this practice. Data from the Canadian Institute of Health Information confirms this new source of transplant organs accounted for 6% of all transplants from deceased donors in Canada in 2021. I was rather proud, quoted in the article, that Canada has done so well in terms of organ donations by MAID patients, said Arthur Schaefer, director of the Center for Professional and Applied Ethics at the University of Manitoba. It also goes on to say in the article, too, that the reason they believe they're doing so well on people accepting MAID is because they're allowed to talk about it. It doesn't have to be asked for by the patient.
I hate this fucking country sometimes, man. Just where to even start with this? What happened to the good old days when you bought them off the Brazilian black market, Sean? Our Canadian healthcare system has basically become pick apart for kidneys and pancreases. This is bullshit. Have I ever told you about, like, you know, my last wishes?
Your last wishes?
Yeah. So you know, you just go ahead and do this sort of thing. All right. So I want I want my family to try and sell any and every body part they can on the black market and get the most for the cadaver. And then whatever's left, in the cheapest way possible, bury it at the family graveyard on top of the hill back home in Saskatchewan. And that's it. But the key part of that is that whatever organs you can get out of there and you can sell, you do it. You make as much money as you can, because I don't need them.
Okay.
So I don't know. Maybe we need to line up a broker before I get too far along. But
I was waiting for the punchline and what you're
no,
talking
but
about.
that's it. Like, there's so much freaking money in organs and stuff like that. You're like, oh, we're running giant deficits. What can we possibly do to turn around the economy? What if we got everybody to kill themselves
You know, the first time I heard
and
about
then sold lungs?
organ harvesting was about China, right?
Mhm.
And the
Yeah,
Uyghurs,
because the Uyghur Muslims,
right?
they're
That's the
they're
first
just
time I
cutting
ever
them
heard
up
about
for
it.
parts and selling them.
Yeah, yeah, and this is a different version of the same thing, or
Yep.
it's leading towards the same thing. I might add. Maybe that's a better
Yeah.
way of putting it.
What if we got you addicted to fentanyl, and then when you didn't want to live anymore, we will sell what's left of your liver on the black market. And hey, phase 3, profit.
The new Pride flag is solid green. Pride Toronto has begun repaying more than $505,000 in grant funding to the federal government after an accounting firm found the organization could not prove it completed multiple projects with the money received.
Yeah, they laundered over $500,000. You know what? They really fucked the taxpayers in the ass on this one, Sean.
Zero Use Council defends single use ban. On Thursday, Smith was more than happy to weigh in on what's become known as the bag bylaw. Officially, it's called the single use items bylaw. Edmonton has one, Calgary has a lookalike that came into effect last week. The new bylaw charges $1 for reusable bags, the fee heading for $2. It's 15 cents for a paper bag, the fee heading to 25 cents. And when it comes to food, it's against the it is against the bylaw to provide any foodware accessory
Mm-hmm.
when the customer has not requested one. We're talking single-use spoons, forks, knives, chopsticks, utensils, straws, stir sticks, splash sticks, cocktail sticks, toothpicks, prepackaged condiments, and napkins.
Toothpicks.
Toothpicks.
Jesus Christ. And then the city of Calgary, because there's been quite an uproar about this. And so the city of Calgary is in damage control mode. So they go to Twitter. And for once, some idiot leftist shit show doesn't disable comments, which is kind of nice. But they go through this whole thread where they're trying to just nicely put a spin on it. Like, myth, the city is forcing Calgarians to pay for bags. Fact, Calgarians have the choice to bring their own bags to totes, grocery store, blah, 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 blah. So they didn't actually dispute the myth when they did the retort.
We're actually making you pay for bags. But
Yeah.
you can bring your own.
Yeah. Myth, the city is requiring businesses to charge for cups, lids, napkins, etc. Fact, the city's single-use item bylaw sets minimum mandatory fees. And then they throw in some stupid other ones like Myth, the city is collecting mandatory bag fees to top up the city budget. Fact, bag fees are kept by the businesses to help offset their own costs. And there's myth, reusable bags are worse for the environment than single-use paper bags. Technically, that's not true or false. It depends on how many times it gets used. But fact, reusable bags are just that, reusable. Keep them, wash them, and they can last for many years. Fact, single-use bags are disposable. They're often used once and tossed away. They didn't actually dispute anything they said in the myth, and they said something completely fucking different. These idiots are digging their own graves on this, and I love to see it happen. So glad I don't live in that fucking shithole anymore.
Roundup kills weed and stock prices. A subsidiary of German pharmaceutical giant Bayer was ordered to pay $2.25 billion to a Pennsylvania man who said he developed cancer from exposure to the company's Roundup weed killer. A jury found that John McEvision developed non-Hodgkin's lymphoma as a result of using Roundup for yard work over several years. The verdict included $2 billion in punitive damages and $250 million in compensation.
Are you going to quit using Roundup? Me neither. I like having a nice lawn, even if it means I die early.
Unexpected blackface guy is racist. I guess this is so this is a couple of things. This goes back to what's the guy's name?
Justin Trudeau.
No. Who's the guy who called the twofer?
Jamil Giovanni.
Thank you.
You've had him on your show.
No, I haven't.
Really? I thought you
No.
had. Okay.
No. Anyways, Marty up north has a tweet here saying, Trudeau speaking to his constituents outside of his cottage. This is the safest place he can hide. Shout out to Marty up north, friend of the show. Got lots of time for Marty. Yeah. And then the second video is
so in that video, Justin Trudeau calls Jamil Giovanni a twofer.
A twofer.
And then here is a fun, handy little explanation of what a twofer is.
Now here, we'll see if I can actually get the tour.
He got 760 on his SATs, graduated from SUNY Cortland. Frank Rossitano was every copy of Blacktail magazine ever published. J.D. Lutz, thyroid problem. James Spurlock, but we call him twofer because with him you get a 2-for-1. He's a black guy and a Harvard guy. And of course, you know, he got 760.
Yeah,
there you go.
That's what he just called the black guy running in the Conservative Party, or one of the black guys. I assume there's going to be a few. Hey, what a racist piece of shit. And it's the exact thing that they stretch so far to point out to everybody else. Oh, you're racist. You're racist. Oh, you know what? I don't think it.
He calls everybody a racist and then on camera calls him a twofer.
I don't think the carbon tax is working. You're a racist. I think that you should chill the fuck out on your vacations a little bit. You're a racist. That guy's a twofer.
Trans swimmer trying to sneak in the back door. Well played, sir. Transgender swimmer Leah Thomas is taking secret legal action in a bid to overturn a ban on biological males competing alongside women in hopes to take part in the Paris Olympic trials, according to a report. And you know who she hired to help her do this? A Canadian law firm. Of course, Canada's helping.
They're going to be experts on it. I don't know about you, Sean. Whenever I see one of these trans athletes competing against women, I always have the same thought. What a dick. Okay. And honestly, if this dude named Leanne Thomas is listening, if you really want to compete in the next Olympics and that's something that's really important to you, I would suggest competing against other dudes.
Yeah. Our justice system is a joke, if we hadn't pointed that out earlier. I don't even know, man. I
just hit it real fast. I don't want to get into it because it just makes me want to burn something down.
Prosecutors have withdrawn child pornography charges against a repeat sex offender arrested shortly after her release from jail to late last year. That's one. And a pedophile who was found with over 1,000 images of children being sexually abused announced his transgender identity during his sentencing hearing this week. Adam Leslie McDonald of Thunder Bay was sentenced to 15 months in prison and will not have to register as a sex offender.
I just want to punch him right in his fake vagina. But seriously, what the fuck?
Texas versus Washington. This has been something very interesting to pay attention to. This is a list of all the states that have been pledging their support for Texas to have their defiance of the federal government. This is over, the southern border, right? And you saw
So,
Tucker. Yeah,
so the federal government says we're not going to stop people from crossing the border. And Texas says, motherfucker, that's our border, and we need to stop it. It's getting out of hand. And so then the federal government and the state said, fuck you. And then Texas said, no, fuck you. And then the federal government said, cut down all the razor wire. And the Texas government says, we're going to put up more razor wire. And
correct.
then all the other states are jumping in. So if we looked at that map, you've got Montana, Idaho, Wyoming, Utah, North and South Dakota, Nebraska, Indiana, Missouri, Arkansas, Oklahoma, Louisiana, Alabama, Tennessee, Georgia, South Carolina, Florida, Virginia, WV. Who's WV? I don't know. Ohio and
West
that,
Virginia.
yes, Mountain Mama, thanks. And some tiny little one, I think Rhode Island. No, they're further up. Anyways, that's all the states that are sending their National Guard down to Texas to help shore up the borders, despite the federal government in the states saying, no, don't fucking do that.
Yeah.
It's basically the South has rose again.
Yeah, over tens of thousands of people just walking across the border down there.
Send them all to California.
Well, they might just fit right in. Unlike politicians, the numbers don't lie. BC Coroner Service figures show 2,511 people died after using toxic street.
We need to pause for a second.
Okay.
There's a West Virginia, but there is no East, North, or South Virginia.
Correct.
Why? Why? It's needlessly complicated.
Well, maybe somewhere there's an answer to that. I'm sure there is. Okay, BC Coroners Service figures show 2,511 people died after using toxic street drugs in 2023. Brace yourselves. This is an insane stat. An average of 7 people a day. 7 people a day died
in BC.
in
That's just
BC.
Now, granted, it's got more than the other places, but still, that's 7 people a day.
It's the highest number since a public health emergency was declared in 2016. I think I have. Yeah, here I'm going to bring this up. Here you can see the stats. Annual drug poisoning deaths in BC. There you go, from 2012. I don't know what happened there, Toos. But
It's almost as though when you allow people to have more access to things that would kill them, they end up dying as a result more often. I mean, remember when we covered the story about the guy who set up the food truck for heroin and cocaine, and then he died of an overdose? I can't even remember being that shocked and surprised.
boy, oh boy. Finally, a good reason to see Chicago. Did I not put up the big?
I got it. I got you, fam.
Right here. Yes.
Yep. That's it. That's a pothole in Chicago.
A hole in the pavement that is shaped like a rat has become Chicago's hottest new tourist attraction. It's been
around for a while, but it's just that nobody ever, tried to monetize it.
Fondly dubbed the Chicago Rat Hole, has captured the fascination of locals and visitors alike, sparking a trend of people making pilgrimages to witness its unique charm. Well, there you go. Toos, would you travel across the world to see that sucker? Probably not. I'm going to say
no,
probably
but
not.
if I was in the neighborhood, I would definitely go check it out.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Like if I grew up just a little bit outside of Chicago and then I was now living in Missouri, I'd probably go back and check it out. The other thing I saw when I was bringing everything up just about 5 minutes before we went on to air is this beauty of an article. Dutch police arrest bird Media places black bar over eyes to protect its identity. The Dutch police arrested a bird for taking part in a robbery, put it in a jail cell with bread and water. When the local media reported on it, they put a little black bar over the bird's. It basically just repeats it. But according to Utrecht Police Department, I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, but I'm sure some random cartel will correct me later. The suspect had brought his bird with him, and it was sitting on his shoulder when he was stopped by the arresting officers. Hi, this bird sat on the shoulder of a thief we arrested for shoplifting, the department wrote, and we don't have a bird cage. This bird had no other place to stay than inside the cell. They added the bird has not been questioned and is, as far as we know, not guilty of any charges.
That can't be a real article. Is that a real article? I guess it is.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. All right. Let's go on to our final one, shall we?
That was it. That was the happy news. Now we're done.
No,
Stacy Beulah, notification bell on, great laughs, LOL.
Sweet 16, folks. Sweet 16. We got to squeeze in a little bit of Oiler talk here. They have a chance to have the longest winning streak in NHL history. And they'll go for it against the Vegas Golden Knights after Tews doesn't like me talking about this. But they have the opportunity to have the longest winning streak, or at least tie the Pittsburgh Penguins of 1993 with 17 in a row against
the
not
even reading the
Las Vegas Golden Knights. Would you like to read the headlines?
You're not even okay. Hi everybody, and welcome to the Tuesday Mashup. I'm joined by Sean Newman. Thanks for joining me, Sean. We're gonna get started here with Oilers finally have a streak that doesn't include their pride tunnel. Hughes is an idiot. You did it, you son of a bitch. You did it. I can't believe you. Hughes is an idiot.
Yes, that's so good. I have to play it twice. And if that doesn't make up your day, I don't know what does, folks. The other thing that
the other thing is that that's the only time they're on that thing. The Flames are on there 3 times. And honestly, I can't believe that you see this as being a positive thing, Sean. I'm pretty sure that there aren't any Oilers fans who like anything over 16.
All right. The other thing is the Super Bowl. I know we don't talk a whole heck of a lot of sports here, folks, but in case you were wondering, it's going to be the San Francisco 49ers versus the KC Chiefs. So
again with the Chiefs.
Yeah. Well, there you go. That's Mashup 91.
Taylor Swift has basically become now what Gisele Bündchen was a decade ago. Hey,
Gisele who?
Never mind. We probably
Am I missing something here? Who are you talking about? Bring her up.
Oh, well, she was with Tom Brady until Peyton Manning won the Super Bowl, and then she was with him. And then when Tom Brady won the Super Bowl again, she went back with him. She was basically like the unofficial Super Bowl trophy for a while.
Gisele.
Yeah.
Who was she with in between Brady? What?
Peyton Manning.
And Gisele.
Yeah. I mean, he's not pretty, but he had a fucking Super Bowl ring, so he kind of makes up for it.
I don't know if I knew that. You sure?
Pretty sure. Ask
anybody like, did anybody else like? I feel like it just went quiet in here all of a sudden. You know, where are all the commentators going that no sport? There's no way Gisele was with Peyton Manning.
After dating,
what a way to end off 91. Everybody thought we were done here, but we're gonna.
Bündchen and NFL superstar Tom Brady set up on a blind date. Imagine going on a blind date and it's a fucking supermodel.
Yeah, and she's thinking it's Tom Brady. Come on.
Yeah. After realizing their immediate chemistry. Yeah, she's a supermodel and he's a millionaire.
For people who are tuning in, this is a Chuck Prodnick hat. There, if you can read that.
Fighting solves everything.
Yeah,
for that, man.
Yeah. Anyways. Okay, folks, 91 in the books. Thanks for tuning in to all the new listeners. Hey, thanks for showing up. We're I could care less about the Super Bowl. I get it. I just I don't know. I love sports. I still do. We never talk about it. Now that we're ramming in so many headlines, I'm like, why not have a couple things? I just, AJHL, like the fact that they're,
We're
anyways,
going through triple the amount of stories
that we used to.
in the
So
same
the
amount
new
of time.
listeners, you're in for a whole, you're missing out. We used to only do 12, 15 max. Now we hit over 30 today. Hey, it's a
There's
lot.
other stuff we could have talked about, and I saw it flew by in the comments, but I saw somebody who's like, well, what the hell about the guys getting arrested in Ukraine for stealing a bunch of money that was sent to them? I'm like, we cover the news here. Everybody knew about that years ago.
All right, folks, we're going to get the heck out of here. Thanks for tuning in to Mashup 91. We will be back next week. No worries there. 9 p.m. Mountain Standard Time, coming live from Alberta. So there you go. Until next week, Toos.
Thanks, man. See ya.